All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Around the Bases this morning. Got pretty good show for today. Going to talk some baseball. Joined by the stat guy Dustin Reese, like normal. How you doing, Dustin? You
Oh, it's the best time of baseball season. Playoffs start today.
said playoffs start today.
Yeah, minor league baseball playoffs
Oh yeah,
start today.
yeah, minor league. Uh, yeah, got minor league baseball. It sucks that, like you said earlier, we talked about that they're not letting as many guys go up to the majors after the minor league playoffs are over. But it looks like well, else Albert Pujols passed A-Rod on the all-time home run list. Well, he's three away from 700 now.
He's got to get it.
What, probably about what 20 games left. Needs three.
I think Cardinals have 22 because I think they have two doubleheaders left. But even at this point, if he's at 697, if he can get to 700, if I'm him, I just stop at 700. Just make it a nice round figure. Stop at 700. Obviously, don't stop playing. Don't stop playing like the final whatever amount of games you're going to be in there. But if you can get to 700 home runs with like 5 or 6 games left, don't worry about hitting home runs those 5 or 6 games. Just get out there and get as much work as you can get in heading into the playoffs. Because if you can finish with 700, that's a very nice round figure to end with.
Yes. Well, you want to start? Go ahead and we'll start out with Mike Trout.
Yeah, so when we talk about the MVP conversation, every single year you bring up the MVP conversation, and MVP is given to the most valuable player in each league. How Mike Trout is one of those guys that does not win the MVP every single year is beyond me. Yes, the guy's been injured a lot the last couple of years, and the Angels haven't gone anywhere. But look what this guy does when he's on the field. He has homered in 7 consecutive games, one away from tying the record. The guy has 35 home runs this year and is in the top 5 in the American League in home runs, and nobody's even talking about him because of what Aaron Judge is doing. Yet he's one of the fastest, if not the fastest player in MLB history to get to 300 home runs. He's going to be one of those guys that's going to be on a borderline 500 club with 500 home runs and 500 stolen bases by the time his career ends. He will be a first ballot Hall of Famer just because of the consistency that he's put up basically since day one that he's walked into that Angels organization. Granted, the injuries may have slowed him down a little bit, but he's still one of those once-in-a-generation type players that's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer when his career is over.
Yeah, Trout's the first player in the American League to go on a 7-game home run streak since 2018. Joey Votto surprisingly done it last year in the National League, but nobody's done it in the American League. I think he should be even more in the MVP conversation. I think some of it hurts him too because the Angels aren't a good team, even though on paper they look like they'd be a good team. For some reason, it just hasn't all came together. And then, and like you said, his injuries, but to put up the numbers that he's putting up and missing the amount of games he's missed, that right there should prove something too, because he's doing it in less games than some of these other guys are.
Yeah, and that's the argument that I've always hated with the most valuable player, where 90 to 95% of the time it's going to go to whoever's on that best team.
Yeah.
And you look at, I mean, this year, okay, Aaron Judge deserves the MVP this year for what he's doing and what he's about to do in terms of possibly getting to 60 home runs. I don't think anybody's going to take that away from Aaron Judge. And then you look at the National League, Paul Goldschmidt is miles ahead, I think, of everybody else in the National League in terms of the most valuable player award, just based on what he's done with the Cardinals since he's gotten there, and especially this season. But you've had years in the past where there's been players that have won the MVP that may not have deserved it. They just got it because they were on the best team in that division. It happens.
They're the best player on the best team.
It happens in football. It happens in basketball. It happens pretty much in every sport, minus maybe the NHL. I think the NHL is the only one that really is awarded to the player that deserves it the most. And I think there has to be some way to get away from giving this award to just a winning team. Because I'm sorry, if I'll use Barry Bonds, for example. If Barry Bonds hit 73 home runs and drove in 156 runners, and the Giants were a 71-91 team, how do you not give him the MVP? Just because he's on a crappy team, he still put up the best numbers of anybody and deserves that award more than anybody.
Oh yeah, I agree. I've always hated that narrative that we always should go to the best player on the best team. No, it's supposed to go to the most valuable player. Period. I don't care, especially in baseball. Baseball is even more than any other sport because some of the other sports you can have one or two stars and you can compete. Like in basketball, if you have two stars, you might not win a championship, but you can compete and have a good year. It's not like that. It's not like that in baseball.
No, because you have baseball as a team of 9 players, and obviously you have pitchers. You could have a couple great pitchers on a team that's going to make teams look like crap, and you could have one really good hitter, aka Giancarlo Stanton, when he was with the Marlins, just mashing the crap out of the baseball, but the other 8 players around him couldn't do anything. But yeah, Giancarlo Stanton, I think he did get one MVP with the Marlins, but outside of that, he probably deserved 2 or 3 more just based on the numbers that he was putting up over that 5-year stretch, but he never was going to get that recognition because the Marlins were terrible.
Yeah, and then with pitchers, the same thing can happen. Pitcher can pitch as good as he wants, but if he don't get no offense from the rest of it, from his team, he's going to struggle.
Pitchers, I always have a hard time to give an MVP award to just because they play once every 5 days.
Yeah,
I think the only exception would be Jacob deGrom, just because you saw what Jacob deGrom was doing last year when he was healthy and just the numbers that he was putting up for a 3-year stretch. He might be the only one that you can make the case for. Obviously, Shohei's a different animal because he plays in the field, he bats, and he pitches, so he's pretty much on the field every single day. But if a starting pitcher was to get the MVP award, I think Jacob deGrom might be the only exception to that.
Of course, everybody has Judge right now as the favorite for the AL MVP. Who do you think is going to get the NL MVP?
Paul Goldschmidt.
Goldschmidt. That's what I would say too. I don't think there's really anybody close to him right now.
Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman's having a great year. Freddie Freeman's having a great year with the Dodgers, and
that's true.
I think had it not been for the year that Goldschmidt has had and I shouldn't say that. Had it not been for the year the Cardinals have had, I think Freddie Freeman gets that award, but everyone expects the Dodgers to be as good as where they are. I don't think people expected the Cardinals to be as good as they've been this year, and I think that alone is kind of going to give Paul Goldschmidt the leg up just because if it wasn't for him, I don't think the Cardinals would be in the position they're in.
Do you think that I'm going to ask you this just because this question I just saw? Is this the most impressive season ever that Aaron Judge is having?
Yes, because he's been healthy. Every other year that we've seen Aaron Judge, he's put up good numbers. Some years he's put up great numbers. But the knock on him was that he was always hurt at some point, missing probably 20, 25 games.
Yeah.
This year, I think he's missed like 15 or 16 games, which some of them were due to injuries and some of them were just regular days off that they gave him days off. But this is by far the best season that he's ever had, and I think this is kind of that potential that everybody saw in him. Just when you look at the size of him and you just look at how big of a human being he is, these are the numbers I think people expect from him on a yearly basis if he can stay healthy.
Yeah. Staying healthy is going to be the big thing. I'm surprised he stayed healthy this far. But Yankees are starting to get healthy again. We'll see if that's going to help them make a deep run.
Yeah, so I just pulled up something that I was looking for. There's only been 6 MVPs that have come from a losing team in baseball. And technically 5 because Ernie Banks did it twice in 1958 and 1959. But you had Ernie Banks in 1958 and 1959 got the MVP on a losing team. Andre Dawson got it in 87, Cal Ripken got it in 91, and Mike Trout got it in 2016. That's the only time that baseball has ever been that's the only time an MVP has ever been given to a player on a losing team.
Is that the only MVP Mike Trout got was in 16?
I think he got another one in like 14 because I think the Angels were like 80. The year that the Angels went to the playoffs with Mike Trout, I think it was 14. Okay. 13 or 14 when they were like 87 and 75. I think he got it, but I think those were the only two that he's gotten.
Once with the Angels was a playoff team, and then probably the other one, that one. Yeah, he's to be considered the best player in baseball, like he's been for so many years, and don't only have it that many times. That's just crazy.
He's got three. He's got three. He's got three. He's got 2014, 2016, and 2019. He won the American League MVP, and then he was the runner-up in 2018.
So he's been up there the last couple of years, at least in the conversation. Do you think Ohtani, like the year Ohtani had last year, do you think going into this year that might have hurt Trout a little bit because people were expecting Ohtani to maybe have that kind of year and compete for the MVP?
Not necessarily, just because if Trout goes out and does what he's capable of, he's still a better player than Shohei. I mean, yes, Shohei can kind of do more than what Mike Trout can because he brings the pitching side of things into it. But Mike Trout's a 310, 315 hitter. Yeah. Shohei's right around 250, 260, and he's going to be kind of the home run or bust type hitter, where Mike Trout, there's years that he's taken more walks and strikeouts. He also brings that stolen base element into the game because I think he's also had 35 to 40 steals multiple times where Shohei's not going to be a base stealer. Mike Trout brings more to the table than what Shohei can do, even though I think Shohei can give you more from like multiple positions. But if you're going to build a franchise around a player for the next 5 years, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are still going to pick Mike Trout if he's healthy over Shohei.
No, I agree. I was just looking at this real quick. So the Dodgers already clinched the playoff spot.
Yeah, they clinched last night.
Dresser, you got it. Mm-hmm.
So we got what, maybe about 3 weeks? 3 weeks of regular season left.
20-ish games. So yeah, 3 weeks of the regular season left. But in reality, I think you can say probably a week and a half to 2 weeks, just because Houston's going to clinch within the next week. The Yankees are going to clinch within the next week. The Mets and the Braves are both going to clinch within the next week or so. St. Louis has an 8-game lead over the Brewers right now. They're probably going to clinch at some point next week. And all that's going to be left really is the wild cards at that point. We're in the National League. It's between Philadelphia, San Diego, and the Brewers. And right now, Philadelphia is... What is it right now? Right now, Philadelphia has a 1.5 game lead over the Padres and a 3.5 game lead over the Brewers. So they're in a good position to clinch. The Brewers are trailing the Padres by 2 games. And then if you go to the American League right now, I think the top 3 wild cards right now are what it's going to sit. You have Seattle and Toronto are tied for that top wild card spot. Tampa Bay is the final wild card spot, and they have a 5.5 game lead over the Orioles and a 7 game lead over the White Sox. So I think the American League playoff picture, I think, can be finalized by next weekend. If everything plays out, if there's 20 games left right now, you go through this week, you would be down to 14 games. If, let's just say 7 game lead with 14 games left to play, that would mean that the Baltimore Orioles would have to go 14-0 and hope that the Blue Jays or somebody else goes 6-8 down the stretch. 7 game lead with 14 games left pretty much is going to be your nail in the coffin. So I think the American League will be more so decided next weekend versus the National League, and I think go to that final weekend of the season just because you have the Phillies, Padres, and Brewers all within 3.5 games of each other, where somebody's going to have to get hot, I think, to really make some noise, because the Braves are going to clinch the division or they're going to clinch the top wild card spot by the end of this weekend.
Yeah, as of right now in the American League, the wild card games would be Blue Jays and Guardians. Blue Jays would be 6, Guardians 3, and then you have Mariners at the Rays.
Right now, are you sure? Because I just looked and they have the Rays as number 6.
On the thing I'm looking at, it says Rays
right
4.
now. Yeah, right now, wild card standings, you have Seattle at 79-61, Toronto at 79-61, and Tampa at 78-61. So Seattle has the 4, Toronto has the 5, Tampa has the 6 right now.
Huh. Yeah, this must be a day old or something. I don't know. It has the Rays at 4 and Mariners at 5.
That was as of last night. The Rays did not play last night.
Okay.
and the Blue Jays and the Mariners both won, so they have that half-game cushion now on the Rays, so the Rays fell to number 6. But if the Rays win tonight, they would have that number 4 seed again.
Yankees 2, Astros 1. All right. National
Like
League.
I said, but if you're the Blue Jays beat the Rays last night 3-2, that's how they leapfrogged them.
Okay.
But
So yesterday's.
if you're in the American League, then I know we talked about this last week too. Don't you kind of want to get that 6 seed right now, knowing that you're going to face the winner of the AL Central, and you have a better chance of getting through to the next round as opposed to facing Toronto or Seattle as that 4-5 matchup? If I'm any one of those teams, I'm getting into that final week of the season, and I already know that I've clinched a playoff berth. I'm just playing for that 6 seed at that point because my chances of beating Cleveland or the White Sox are a lot better than beating Seattle and Toronto.
Yeah. I'm glad it looks like Seattle's going to hold on and make the playoffs and break that 20-year drought.
And I do want them to have the 4 seed because not only is a 20-year drought a long time, but if they get that 4 seed, then they get to host that wild card best of 3. So I think not only would it be nice to have them get in the playoffs, but it would be nice to have the fans because they've never hosted a playoff game in their new stadium. The last playoff, they have. Yeah, the last year they made the playoffs, they did. One game they lost to the Yankees in game, I think 3 or 4 in Seattle. But yeah, it would be nice just to have them host that wild card round as kind of the icing on the cake as not being there for 20 years, and now we finally get to host again.
Yeah. It'd be real nice for the fans, too, because for the fans to have a chance to go to a playoff game there in Seattle after this many years of not having a game there. And I still think Seattle could be dangerous if you get in one of these series with the pitching staff they have, especially if their bats get going. Because, I mean, they're pitching a 5-game or 7-game series.
The key to them will be the best of 3 because you're going to go Robbie Ray and Luis Castillo as your 1-2. And then the question is, who do you go at number 3? They had a guy that pitched against the White Sox last week, and I can't remember his name, but he had like 11 strikeouts in 6 innings. He's a 25-year-old, I think, first or second-year player, so he's good. They have Marco Gonzalez, who's 36 years old. He's considered what you call a junk baller who just goes up there and throws it up there at 85, 86. Pitches to contact, but his ERA is only a 3.4. So, I mean, he gets the guys out that he needs to get them out. So the Mariners have 4 or 5 guys they can count on. But when it comes to a best of 3, I think they're better suited for the best of 3 because of the Robbie Ray, Luis Castillo two-headed monster that they can throw at you 1-2.
Which team? Let's talk a little bit about the minor league playoffs. Which teams do you think are going to be able to are going to win or be able to advance in there or maybe be the favorites?
So half of the minor league playoffs start today. The rest of it starts later. So high A and low A will begin today. And then double A will begin next Monday, and then triple A follows, I think, in a couple weeks because triple A season goes to like the end of September. But in terms of the we'll start with low A, which is the lowest of the minor leagues. You have the California League, which has the Fresno Grizzlies against the Lake Eleanor Storm the Fresno Grizzlies and the San Jose Giants will be in that series. So basically a Rockies and Giants farm system matchup. And then the South Division is going to have Lake Elsinore and Island Empire for a Padres-Angels matchup. I believe the Fresno Grizzlies are the best team out of the California League. I don't follow the California League too much, but I believe that the Fresno Grizzlies are the favorite to come out of there. The Florida State League, which has St. Lucie, obviously the Mets farm system, Palm Beach, the Cardinals farm system. And then you have the Fort Myers Mighty Mussels, the Twins farm system, with the Dundee and Blue Jays. Obviously the Blue Jays farm system, I believe either St. Lucie or the Blue Jays are the favorites out of there. The Carolina League is the one that I'm looking forward to the most in terms of low A. You have the Lynchburg Hillcats, the Guardians single A team versus the Fredericksburg Nationals in the North Division. And then the South Division, you have the Charleston River Dogs, who are the Rays' low A team, versus the Myrtle Beach Pelicans, who are the Cubs' low A team. Myrtle Beach and Charleston posted the best record in minor league baseball. I think Charleston finished like 82-46, and Myrtle Beach was like 78-50 or something like that. They have the two best records in all of minor league baseball based off of winning percentage. So that series is going to be a great series. They've already played each other 18 times this year, and they went 9-9 against each other. So this series should go to a best of 3, and I think the winner that comes out of that South Division is going to bring home the Carolina League title just because they're so battle-tested. And then the other one that is opening up today is the High A division, so second step up, where you have the Texas League, and the Texas League has the San Antonio Missions, which they do not have an opponent yet, so that is still being determined. The Midwest League has the Great Lakes Loons, Dodgers Farm System, Lake County Captains, Guardians Farm System, Cedar Rapids Colonels, Twins Farm System versus the South Bend Cubs. Obviously, the Cubs Farm System there. Cedar Rapids and South Bend is going to be a great series. They actually finished the regular season against each other last week. Went 3-3 in that. I believe South Bend posted a 10-8 record against Cedar Rapids this year. So again, that series should come right down to the wire. You have the South Atlantic League beginning today with some former Midwest League teams in that series, and then you have the Northwest League, which is just Vancouver versus Emerald, and that series doesn't start until I think next week. But yeah, I mean, of the low A and high A, I think a lot of this is going to be basically a best of 3 series. I think it's going to go the distance. I think the championship rounds are going to go the full 5 games just because these teams are so evenly matched. A lot of these first round matchups, you're going to see opponents that have played each other already 16 to 18 times. So there's nothing you can really throw at them at this point that they haven't seen during the regular season. Once you get to AA and AAA, when those playoffs start, it's going to be a little bit different just because some of these teams aren't going to have as many games against each other as others. But I think the single A and the high A playoffs are going to be the 2 most entertaining playoffs in terms of the minor leagues.
Like in the AAA, since it starts later, are any of these players that play in the low A or AA, are they allowed to play in the AAA?
So that's where it gets tricky. You have the option of taking a player that, let's just say he was in AA and you promoted him up to AAA. You have the option of taking that player from AAA and bringing him back down to AA for the playoffs. But after the playoffs, he would not be allowed to return to that AAA roster. Okay. So you need to kind of pick and choose how you want to go about doing that. I know in terms of the Chicago Cubs right now, their number 3 prospect was their number 1 prospect to open the season, and that was Brennan Davis, who's basically missed the entire season with a back injury. He ended up having back surgery and missed like 3 months. He's back in AAA right now, but he's struggling mightily just because he missed so much time this year. The Cubs are thinking about sending him down to AA because AA also made the playoffs for the Cubs farm system. And that kind of gets him just the at-bats he needs just because he's not getting the consistent at-bats right now in AAA because he's struggling. But I know there are some teams that are thinking about dropping players from AAA down to AA or promoting players from low A up to high A just to help those playoff teams out. But then once that's over, their season's pretty much over, and they have to go to like Arizona then to pretty much just do the instructional league the rest of the way.
Okay, that's what I figured. I figured they wouldn't let a guy play like on 3 different playoff teams. But so you can move down, but they can move a guy down, but it has to be done before the playoffs.
Yeah.
What about AAA? Who do you think is going to be the favorite in the AAA when it gets going?
I mean, for AAA, I haven't really watched much AAA this year just because the Cubs AAA team is god-awful. But a lot of that has to do with a lot of the AAA players in Chicago are half of Iowa is in Chicago, for God's sakes, at this point. I mean, I look at the roster every day in Chicago, and it's literally like a AAA roster that's out there. But if I'm looking at the AAA playoffs right now, and I don't even think they have the
probably don't even have the
field. No, they don't even have the field set yet because if you remember correctly, Double A, High A, and Low A, they have a first and second half champion. So like those are your playoff teams. Whoever wins the first half and whoever wins the second half are your playoff teams versus AAA. You basically do the major league system where you play out the entire year and then you pick the top 4 teams that go in. So right now in AAA, the standings are still what they are, but you have the Durham Bulls, who are leading the International League Eastern Division at 75 and 60. Nashville is 81 and 53. They got to be considered the favorites to come out of the International League. Just they're the Brewers farm system, and they've been, I think, the only team in AAA that's led their division start to finish. They've never been in second place. They've either been tied for first or in first place, basically start to finish. So you got to look at Nashville as being one of the favorites. And then if you're looking at the Pacific Coast League, Oklahoma City Dodgers are up there, El Paso Chihuahuas are up there. But you got to look at, I think, the Reno Aces, I think, are the favorites to come out of the PCL West. But right now, if I were to pick, I would say it's the Nashville Sounds. They got to be the favorites to come out of AAA this year, just based on how dominant they've been start to finish.
Okay, well, let's talk. We didn't get to talk about last week with me moving and everything going on. But what about you? How you feel about these rule changes that baseball had voted on last week and are going to put into effect? Doing away with the shift, going to bigger bases. I'm trying to think what other one it was.
Pitch clock.
Yeah, pitch clock.
Well, the bigger bases, I don't think is really going to make a difference. That's more mainly a safety issue. And if you look at high school and if you look at even some colleges for that matter, they have that bigger first base for that reason. It helps eliminate the collision at first base. So I really don't think that's going to make a difference. And honestly, I think it's actually going to make the game more entertaining because you might see more stolen base attempts. With a bigger base, you're going to have base runners now being able to slide to kind of the backside of the base or slide to the front of the base and not have to try all these fancy swim moves now because you have a bigger base. So you might see teams be a little bit more aggressive, which that's something that's been a dying art in baseball the last several years is the stolen base. So if they do that to get kind of the stolen base aspect back in baseball, I love it. But I think this is just more done for a safety rule, and you just see how many double plays and how many injuries have happened in double plays now with slides and this and that. I think this is going to kind of eliminate that also because now you have no excuse for sliding off the base. You have a bigger base. You have no excuse for sliding 3, 4, 5 inches off that base pass now just because you have that bigger base. Eliminating the shift, I like it in terms of offense because you're going to get more hits out of it, but I hate it because the shift has shown how flawed Major League Baseball is and how much they lack the basic fundamentals of, oh, there's 5 guys standing on second base. I will drop a bunt down the third baseline and get a double. Well, nobody in baseball seems to understand that that's what you can do. So now by eliminating the shift, these players are never going to have to do that. They're going to be able to just basically pull everything they want and get more hits, even though it's not the fundamental aspect of the game that's basically been lost for I don't know how long.
Yeah, I don't like them taking the shift away because to me, baseball is a game of strategy, and you're taking away some strategy. I mean, if you're a defensive team and you know that guy can't hit it, he can't hit it to the left side of the field. Why is it your fault that he can't hit it to the left side of the field? Why do you? I didn't have a problem with the shift. The
only thing I wanted to them to get rid of in terms of the shift was when they have that guy standing in right center field.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
If you want to put guys in the outfield grass, that's fine and dandy. It is what it is. But I hated it when they had the second baseman or the shortstop like 150 feet out in the outfield, basically as a short right fielder, and then you have the right fielder behind it. Like if they wanted to get rid of that part of the shift and keep everything else the way it is, I'd be perfectly okay with it because there were so many times where a batter would absolutely hit the ball on the screws and would literally line right out to a player that typically doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Otherwise the shift, I think eliminating that is stupid just because everyone's been preaching about baseball getting back to the fundamental side of things and learning to just do all the fundamental things that you're taught in elementary school, and this just gives players an out not to do it.
Yeah, I've seen that happen too. I would just rather make a rule where if you are going to be in the grass, you can only be so far out or something.
Yeah.
I don't
The
like
pitch
going
clock,
I had a guy tell me that that taking away the shift was going to help baseball players show that they're help fielders make more dynamic plays. And I'm like, how do you get that? If a ball's hitting your area, no matter where you're standing, you have a chance to make a play on it. So that's like,
yeah.
it don't make a whole lot of sense to me. Is how it's going to help defensive guys make more dynamic plays because they're going to be playing their own position. So, I mean, if you can get to a ball, you're going to get to it.
Yeah.
What were you going to say about the pitch clock?
That I'm actually very intrigued about. And I was watching Sunday Night Baseball when the Cubs and the Giants were pitching, and if you watch that telecast, they actually put the pitch clock on there just to kind of show like how fast the pitcher works compared to how fast they're going to have to work when that pitch clock is implemented. And Wade Miley was the pitcher for the Cubs that game, and he was pitching under 15 seconds every single time. The pitch clock is 15 seconds. He was ready to go in 12, 13 seconds and firing to home. And then you add the Giants, who they went with a bullpen game, so they didn't really have a starting pitcher. But all the Giants pitchers were taking 25, 30 seconds to just get ready and go. And I think a lot of that now with the pitch clock, pitchers are not only going to have to think more, but they're going to have to think 2 or 3 pitches ahead as to like what they want to throw next, what they want to throw after that, what they want to throw after that, because they're not going to have the opportunity to get the ball, kind of walk around the mound for a second, like rub their foreheads and kind of reset themselves. It's going to be, oh crap, I threw the ball. I have 15 seconds to throw it again. Otherwise, it's an automatic ball to the batter. Now, I think it's going to speed baseball up, but I think it's also going to force pitchers to think maybe a little bit more, which could lead to more offense because the more a pitcher thinks, typically the more mistakes they make.
Now, and when they get now, if a base runner gets on, they get a little bit longer, don't they? Don't they go up to like?
Nope. It's a standard 15-second pitch clock.
I thought I read something that went from like 15 to like 17 or 18 or something.
Even if it goes up 17 seconds, is that going to make much of a difference?
Not much, no.
No. If you're not ready to throw in 15 seconds, you're not going to be ready to throw in 17 seconds.
And they've been doing this in the minor leagues for what? At least 1 year I know of.
2 years now. I think last year the pitch clock was 25 seconds. I think this year's 20 in the minor leagues. And most pitchers are getting rid of it between 17 and 18 seconds.
So will the minor leagues go down to 15 now?
No, the minor leagues are going to stay at that 20.
They're going to stay at 20?
Just because you got to remember a lot of the kids in the minor leagues are coming straight out of college or straight out of high school where they don't have a pitch clock and they're not going to need one. The only league that they're talking about potentially going to that 15-second pitch clock is AAA. Just because they're the closest to the majors, and a lot of players in AAA have been in the major leagues at one point. So you kind of have to keep them at that level just so they're prepared when they get back up.
Yeah. I could see that doing it in AAA and leaving AA and single A kind of how it is for now. But I think that would be a big deal for AAA because if you get used to having 20 seconds and you get out there, you get called up to the majors, now you only have 15. It's going to take you a little time to adjust to that. And like you said, these pitchers are so focused. You start making these pitchers think a little bit and get them out of their rhythm. They can miss their spot a little bit more, and you could see a little bit more offense.
Look at a guy like trying to think of his name on the Reds when he was there. Look at Trevor Bauer. Look at how long Trevor Bauer takes between his pitches. Yeah. Now speed him up to 15 seconds.
That's true. Speaking of Bauer, do you think he'll ever play in major leagues again?
Does he want to?
Yeah, I don't know if he wants to or not. That's the thing with him.
You look at the kind of personality he has, and he's kind of that wild card personality anyways, but you would think that if he wanted to play in baseball, he would be fighting more than what he's really fought. And he's kind of just let this play out, and he was found guilty, then he was found not guilty, and then he was put on the commissioner exempt list for like the last 14 months. You would think that if he actually wants to play, that he would be trying to get off that list. And the fact that he's not trying to get off that list and he's collecting $51 million for doing nothing kind of leads you to believe that he really doesn't care if he pitches again or not.
That's true. And I mean, the longer he misses, it's it's going. I think less teams are going to take a chance on him. Because I mean, pitching ain't just something you can take a couple years off, 2-3 years off, and just come right back and be where you was at. It takes a lot when you're pitching to stay at that level of, especially like a major league level. You can't just take 2 or 3 years off and come back think you're going to be at the same level you was.
Exactly.
And hell, with all his other stuff he got going on with his YouTube page and everything else that dude does, you're probably right. He's made enough money. He might not even worry about coming back.
I mean, and if he comes back, like you were saying, you're away from the game now for going on 2 years. There's not a team that's going to give you a lucrative deal.
No.
They're going to give you like a 1 year, $2 maybe $3 million, whatever the veterans minimum is,
More of a
prove it deal for you to go out there and prove that you still got it. Do you honestly think Bauer's going to take $3 million when he just made $51 million for doing nothing?
No, I wouldn't. I would. I'd stay at home, do what I'm doing.
The guy's going to make more money off of endorsements than he's going to get off of his next baseball contract because he's been out of the game for so long now.
Yeah, but will he be able to get a lot of those endorsements now?
I think he will because he does do a lot of things with that Driveline Academy up in Seattle. He does a lot of stuff with kind of the behind the scenes stuff in baseball, so he'll still get his advertising, he'll still get his marketability just based on how involved he is in kind of those outside things that a lot of the pitchers use. And once you have any sort of marketability, you're going to get paid. It's just a matter of how much you get paid and how long you want to do it.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. He probably lose a few sponsors just because people won't want. Some of those guys aren't going to want to be around or get involved with him because of what he was accused of and everything. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens there. The Reds dodged them all. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of mad when the Reds didn't re-sign him back, but after everything that happened, the Reds dodged a bullet on that one.
Yeah, they did.
Dodged the bullet. I'm ready for baseball playoffs to start. That's what I'm ready for. Getting these last 2 or 3 weeks done, getting into the playoffs. There isn't much like playoff baseball.
Like I said, it starts tonight in the minor leagues. You want some baseball playoffs, you can start tonight.
I might try to watch some of that.
You get 6 weeks of baseball playoffs if you started tonight.
I might watch some of it since there's no football on tonight either. But first full week NFL was a little crazy. You've had some crazy stuff going on in college football, so it's been footballs came back quick and with a lot of different storylines. And now you got baseball moving into the playoffs, which is going to be fun. NBA back in a few weeks, and like you said, you got the minor league playoffs. There's a lot of sports going on right now.
Yeah, there's so many sports going on. This is kind of that time of the year where if you're a sports fan, you're in love with everything just because you can flip anything on and some sports on, whether it's baseball, whether it's football, whether it's soccer, hockey preseason starts at the middle to end of September. NBA preseason begins early October. Like every single one of the 5 major sports this is the only time that you can say that all 5 of the major professional sports leagues are going to be going on at the same time.
Yeah. Let's see. Nope, that's not the right page. All right. Anything else you'd like to talk about before we get out of here? Any final thoughts?
Oh, no, not that I have one question for you. What do you think of the draft lottery and the process they're going with it?
For baseball?
Yeah.
I have to be honest with you. I haven't seen it yet. What are they going to do?
So it's a draft lottery, but it's not a draft lottery. Only the top 6 teams get put in this draft lottery.
So they just put the top 6 teams in there to see who's going to get the top 6 picks?
Yeah. So it's not like NBA where the 14 teams that don't make the playoffs get put in the draft lottery, and then it's kind of an all random thing after that. This is literally like, yeah, there'll be 12 play 18 teams don't make the playoffs, but the 6 teams with the worst records are the only ones that are going in the draft lottery.
Huh. Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't either. What's the point of even doing a draft lottery if you're only going to do it for like the bottom feeders?
If you're going to do that, you might as well just give the worst team the number 1 pick and go up.
Exactly.
I mean, if you're only going to do 6 teams, yeah, they should be at least. I like the way that, like you just said, the NBA does it, where if you miss the playoffs, I think all the teams that miss the playoffs, put them in that lottery.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's a fairer way if you're wanting to do a lottery. If you're going to do 6 teams, to me that's a waste of time. Just do reverse order with for your lottery if you're wanting to do it like that.
Exactly.
Which I hadn't seen that yet. Dak Prescott out 6 to 8 weeks. No, I hadn't seen about the draft, so that sucks. I'd rather anybody that make the playoffs at least have a chance to get a top 2 or 3 pick.
Right.
Because if you're a team that at least have a chance to get that. Because if you're a team that's like say you're the 8th or 9th worst team, the best pick you're going to be able to get will be 7th. Right?
Yeah, about that.
Because if they are doing the top 6, I don't like that. I think take the teams that miss the playoffs, do a lottery, draw them out, and see who gets what.
And the main reason why I don't like that idea is the Chicago Cubs, for example. Yes, I'm a Chicago Cubs fan, but let's just say they get the number 1 pick. They also have the 3rd biggest market in Major League Baseball. So not only could they get the number 1 pick and get the best college player available, but they could spend more money than anybody in free agency too if they wanted to. That's kind of the thing where if you're going to do a draft lottery, put everybody in, because a team like the Royals, who have a terrible payroll, why not give them the number 1 pick if they get it in the draft lottery, and that kind of helps them out because they're not going to be able to outspend teams like the Cubs or the Red Sox or the Yankees.
No, yeah, that's true. And to me, it's almost that could almost encourage some teams to try to tank if they know they're not going. Hey, we're probably going to finish 7th or 8th best, or 7th, 8th worst record. Let's lose a couple more games so we can get in that 6. So then we have a chance to maybe get that top pick.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can see, especially when it gets closer to the end of the season, you can see some teams maybe trying to make sure they get that they're in that lottery. If you're, if you're bad, they're going to try to make sure they're bad enough to get in that lottery. So that's why I think it's better, in my opinion, to have more teams that you're drawing from, because then it's going to discourage teams from taking a little bit. Because if I tank, the worst I can get is going to be the 6th pick as long as we're in that bottom 6.
That's the other big thing too. Like, I think if you put everybody in that draft lottery that doesn't make the playoffs, it eliminates tanking altogether. Where yes, teams are going to tank, but they're going to do it less visibly. Where you're going to have teams that are going to be going 63 and 99, 64 and 98, as opposed to like 50 and 110. Like, yes, you're still going to have 100 lost teams, but it's not going to be 120 lost teams, 110 lost teams. It'll be closer to that 100, just because they know that even if they get the 10th or 11th worst record, they still have a shot at getting the number 1 pick based on the lottery.
Yeah. All right. You have any other final thoughts before we get out of here for today? You good for tomorrow?
I'm good for tomorrow. Thursday's a no because I will be worked. Yeah, Thursday's going to be rough because I work 3 to midnight Wednesday, and then I'm back at 4 a.m. Thursday morning.
Oh.
So I work 4 a.m. until 2 on Thursday, so Thursday's out of the question. Friday, most likely Friday, so probably tomorrow and Friday I'll be good, but definitely not Thursday.
All right. Well, I'll be up tomorrow again. I'm trying to get back to my normal schedule, moving and just starting some new medicine and everything. Got me out of whack. As you can see, I still haven't even got my background or anything up yet since I moved over here. So, all right. If you don't have anything else, we'll Don't forget Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Usually at 9 a.m. Eastern day, we got started a little bit later, but around the bases. You can also find at 3 p.m. Eastern, have Easy Money, a sports betting show today. Come join us for that. And then see, the day's Tuesday, so I don't have no Gonzo and the Judge tonight. ASAP Afternoon Blitz at 1 p.m. Eastern today. Other than that, I want to thank everybody for joining us, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode of Around the Bases.